My apartment building told us not to use our peepholes after 9 p.m. The email came in that morning, which meant I read it while standing in my kitchen in one sock, waiting for my coffee machine to stop sounding like it was choking. The subject line was, "Important Resident Safety Notice." That usually meant the elevator was broken again, or someone had left chicken bones in the laundry room sink, or the landlord had discovered a new way to blame us for the mold. But this one was different. Dear residents, until further notice, please do not use your door viewer/peephole after 9 p.m. If someone knocks after this time, please call the front desk. Do not visually confirm through the peephole. Thank you, the Marwick Residences. I sent a screenshot to Natalie. She replied, "Girl, what kind of Scooby-Doo-ass building do you live in?" The Marwick is old, in the way landlords call historic, when in reality, they just want to charge more. My hallway smells like dust, carpet cleaner, and something that might have been canned soup in 1987. The elevator makes a sound like it is remembering a traumatic event every time it reaches the 4th floor, if it ever makes it there. So, honestly, the peephole thing barely made the top 5. I live alone in 6C. It's my first apartment after college. 1 pan, 2 mugs, couch from Facebook Marketplace, mattress on an actual bed frame. My front door faces a long beige hallway with 5 other units and a framed sailboat print that has been crooked since I moved in. Through the peephole, the hallway bends into a little fish-eye world. Carpet, elevator, sailboat, the occasional neighbor holding takeout. I use the peephole constantly. Everyone does, right? You hear a knock, you look. That is what the peephole is for? At 9:42 that night, someone knocked. 3 taps. Soft. It didn't sound like a delivery knock, nor a friendly knock, not even a maintenance knock. 3 carefully spaced out taps. I was on the couch eating cereal out of a measuring cup because my bowls were dirty. I paused my show and walked to the door with the spoon still in my hand. Then I remembered the email. For a second, I actually laughed. The idea of standing inside my own apartment and being afraid of a peephole felt really silly, like being warned not to look into a mirror after midnight. Another knock. 3 taps. I said, "Who is it?" No answer. I leaned closer. "Hello?" Still nothing. My eye was maybe 2 inches from the peephole when my phone buzzed. Another email with the same subject line. Important Resident Safety Notice. This one said, "Residents are reminded not to use their door viewers after 9 p.m. If you have already looked tonight, remain inside your unit and do not answer the door." I stared at it. Then, from the other side of my door, someone whispered, "Don't worry, you haven't looked yet." I backed up so fast I hit the little table by the door and knocked my keys to the floor. I called the front desk, voicemail. I called Natalie, no answer. The knocking started again while the phone rang. 3 taps. Pause. 3 taps. Pause. I called 911. I don't know what happened. I might have hit the wrong thing. Maybe the building's intercom app glitched. My hands were definitely shaking too much. But the call connected to the front desk. A woman answered. "Good evening. Thank you for calling the Marwick Residences." Her voice sounded normal and bored. "There's someone outside my door," I said. "What unit?" 6C. A pause. Then she said, "Have you used your peephole tonight?" "No." "Are you sure?" "Yep." The knocking stopped. The woman exhaled. "Then don't start now," she said. "What's going on? Do you live alone?" I always hated that question. Why? Do you live alone? I didn't answer. There was paper shuffling on her end, like she was looking through a folder. Then she said, "Please move away from your door." "Who's out there?" "Maintenance has been notified." "At night? It's almost 10. Please move away from your door." "What's the maintenance code?" Silence. Every work order in our building had a code. They used it for everything. Leaky sink, broken outlet. That one time a raccoon got into the trash room. Maintenance always gave the code before entering. The woman said, "Excuse me?" "The work order code," I said. "If maintenance is coming, what's the code?" Another pause. Then she hung up. That was when Natalie called me back. Before I could say anything, she said, "Are you home right now?" "Yeah." "Can you lock your bedroom door?" My stomach dropped. "What? Why?" "Is your bedroom door locked?" "No. Why?" "I need you to listen, and try not to freak out. I got pictures from your number." I looked at my phone. Our text thread was open. The last thing I had sent her was the screenshot of the email that morning. "What pictures?" "They look really old," she said. "Like from earlier today. Or yesterday. I don't know. They show you in your room." I turned toward my bedroom. Its door was open. The room was dark except for the streetlight bleeding through the blinds. "From my room?" My voice rose at the last word. "I know," she said. My phone buzzed. A picture came through. Me standing beside my bed in an old t-shirt folding laundry. The angle was high. I knew it immediately. It was from the vent. The picture was taken from the little square vent above my closet door, the one that rattled whenever the heat came on, the one I had complained about twice to management. In the picture, I was looking down at a skirt. I had no idea I was being watched. The knock came again, 3 taps. I almost threw the phone. Natalie said, "Marie, don't open the door." "I'm definitely not going to open the door." "Don't look through the peephole either." "I know." "No," she said. "I mean don't. I think that's how they know." I looked at the door. The peephole was just a small, dark dot. Natalie said, "The pictures are old, but the texts you're sending me are live." "What do you mean?" Another image came through. My bedroom again. Me, asleep. One arm under the pillow. Blanket kicked halfway off because my apartment is always too hot. Taken from the vent. Below the photo was a message I hadn't typed. "She's home." I stopped breathing. Outside my door, a man said, "Maintenance." His voice was calm, tired, and slightly irritated. "Ma'am," he said, "we need to come in." I said nothing. He knocked again. 3 taps. "Ma'am, I need you to look through the peephole and confirm it's me." Natalie whispered, "Please don't open it." I pressed the phone to my ear so hard it hurt. The man outside sighed. "Marie," he said, "you live alone. You need to let someone help you." I went cold. Marie isn't on my lease. It isn't on my mailbox. It isn't the name I use for deliveries or bills or maintenance requests. It isn't even close to my real name. It's a nickname from college. 3 people call me that, and all 3 of them know better than to say it through a locked door at night. "Marie," he repeated. "Open the door." I backed away from the door. That was when I understood the warning. It wasn't because the peephole was specifically dangerous. It was because if you looked through it, whoever was outside could see the light change, or the shadow of your eye, or whatever tiny movement told them someone was standing on the other side. They weren't warning us not to open the door. They were warning us not to prove we were home. The man outside said, "We can hear you." I covered my mouth with my hand. Another man spoke from farther down the hall. "Is she looking?" The first man said, "Not yet." My phone buzzed again. Another picture. This one was not of my bedroom. It was my hallway, my door, the man outside it. He had a toolbox in one hand. Behind him stood 2 other men. One wore a dark hoodie. One had a clipboard. The clipboard bothered me the most. I don't know why. Maybe because it made the whole thing look official. I whispered, "Natalie, could you call the police?" "I did." "When?" "2 minutes ago." "How far?" "I don't know." There was another knock, 3 taps. Then the man said, "Don't make this difficult." The doorknob turned slowly, once to the left, once to the right. Then it stopped. I had locked it, with the deadbolt too. I'd never loved myself more than I did in that moment. The man outside said, "Good girl," like he was pleased. Then something metal slid into the lock. I ran to the kitchen and grabbed a chair, wedging it under the knob even though I knew that mostly worked in movies. Then I dragged the little table over, then my laundry basket, then the broken floor lamp I kept meaning to throw away. The man outside said, "Marie." I didn't answer. "I know you're scared." I stayed quiet. "That's okay," he said. "Women get scared." My skin went cold. Then he said, "You should have just looked when we knocked." The lock clicked. Not all the way, just enough. Natalie was crying now. "Marie, get out the window." "I'm on the 6th floor. Fire escape? Other side of the building. Bedroom window?" "No." I looked toward my bedroom. The vent above the closet was dark. I had never noticed how much it looked like a mouth. My phone buzzed again. Another picture. This one showed my bedroom from the vent. Empty bed, open door, and at the very bottom of the frame, just visible in the hallway mirror, the reflection of a man standing inside my apartment. I turned around. No one. Nothing. Only the hallway. Only the bedroom door. Only the vent. The man outside laughed softly. Then he said through the door, "Check the closet." I am not checking the closet. I am sitting with my back against the kitchen cabinets, typing this with one hand while holding a knife in the other. My hand is shaking so badly that I keep hitting the wrong letters. The police are coming, I think. Natalie is still on the phone, I think. The men in the hallway have stopped knocking. A few minutes ago, something small slid under my door. A photograph. Not digital this time, but printed. I haven't touched it, but I can see it from here. It's a picture of me sitting exactly where I am sitting now. Back against the cabinets, phone in one hand, knife in the other. The angle is from above, from the kitchen vent. I picked it up. On the back, written in black marker, are 6 words. "You locked him in with you." Next story. I'd give anything to save my daughter. The first time I saw the medical bill, I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because I didn't know how else to react. I was a widower, my credit was ruined, and my daughter, Keisha, was sleeping in a bed at Children's Hospital in Detroit with a machine helping her breathe. Her heart had a valve defect. The surgeon said it was fixable. He said the word routine twice, like that was supposed to comfort me. Then billing came in. Insurance called it out-of-network complications. The hospital called it patient responsibility. I called it a number I could never make in my life, even if I worked doubles at the plant until my spine folded in half. I sat beside Keisha's bed, holding her small hand, and remembered every stupid thing I'd ever said. "I'd give my right arm for you, baby girl." Parents say things like that because they think love is poetry. It isn't. Love is math. It is a balance due. 3 nights later, I found the market. I won't say how. It took enough searching that I knew I was doing something I could never explain to a judge. Dark pages, onion links, dead forums, men selling kidneys in broken English, women offering eggs, somebody in Toledo selling corneas. Most posts looked fake. Some looked too real. Then I found a buyer in Detroit. The listing was simple. Seeking healthy adult liver segment. Type O preferred. High compensation. Discreet extraction. Half upfront. Half after successful transfer. I stared at the words until my vision blurred. A liver grows back. I knew that from some documentary, or maybe I wanted to believe it so badly that my brain made it true. The number beside the listing was enough to pay Keisha's surgery, the hospital stay, the medications, and still leave money for 2 months of rent. I messaged them. They asked for blood type, age, medical history, recent photos, proof of identity. I sent everything before I could convince myself it was a bad idea. The reply came in under 10 minutes. Accepted. Half payment released. Confirm wallet. The Bitcoin hit my account the next morning. I converted enough to wire the hospital a deposit. When the billing woman called to confirm, her voice changed. People treat you differently when you can pay. The buyer sent the meetup location. An alley off Michigan Avenue, not far from the old train station. Midnight. I almost backed out 6 times. At 11:30, I kissed Keisha's forehead. She was asleep, cheeks pale under the monitor's green glow. "Daddy's fixing it," I whispered. The June air outside felt thick and dirty. Detroit at night is not empty. It watches you from busted windows and idling cars. Sirens moved somewhere far away. I parked 2 blocks from the alley and walked with my hood up, hands shaking in my pockets. The alley smelled like wet cardboard, old grease, and something sweet going bad. There was no van, no doctor, no cooler full of ice. Just a figure standing under a fire escape. At first, I thought it was a homeless man wrapped in trash bags. Then it moved into the dim light behind a restaurant, and I saw the skin. Not one skin, many. A patchwork of arms, stomach flesh, thighs, and faces stretched over a shape too tall to be human. One shoulder was broad and dark. The other was narrow and white and stitched crooked. Its chest pulsed in sections, like separate hearts were arguing inside it. Tubes ran under the surface of its body, squirming like worms. Fresh parts shone pink and wet. Older ones sagged gray-green. One hand was small, maybe a woman's. Another was swollen and rotting at the fingertips. Its head turned toward me. There were 3 eyes, none matching. I tried to run. It crossed the alley in one jump. The bite landed in my neck. Not a tearing bite, a precise one. Needle-like teeth slid into me from its mouth. Cold spread down my spine. My knees gave out, but I didn't hit the ground. It caught me with gentle hands. That was the worst part. I could see. I could hear. I could feel pressure, but not pain. My body had become an inanimate object. It laid me on the asphalt and opened me. It didn't carry tools. It grew them. Blades slid from the seams in its wrists. A clear tube uncoiled from beneath its ribs, pulsing softly. Then something wet and muscular slipped from its mouth. Not quite a tongue, not quite a hand, and pressed against my abdomen with the careful certainty of a surgeon. I wanted to scream for help. I wanted to beg it to stop. I wanted to tell it I changed my mind. My mouth hung open, useless. The creature worked with care. It cut below my ribs. It reached in. I felt tugging, deep and wrong, like someone rearranging my organs like furniture in a room. Warmth spread across my stomach, but the blood did not pour out. Whatever it had injected kept me alive, kept me awake. One of its eyes drooped from the socket and burst against its cheek. It ignored it. When it finished, it sealed me with a strip of something that looked like skin but moved by itself. Then it leaned close. Its breath smelled like pennies and spoiled meat. It then went through my pocket and took my phone. It used my thumb to unlock the screen. I heard my own voice, copied perfectly. "Help! I need an ambulance," it said. "There's a man bleeding out. Alley near Michigan and 14th. Hurry." Then it dropped my phone and dragged itself into the dark, heavier than before. I woke up in the hospital 2 days later. A nurse told me I was lucky. A passerby had found me. I had suffered severe trauma, but somehow the bleeding had been minimal. They asked if I remembered anything. I said no. Keisha's surgery was scheduled for Monday. That night, while a drainage tube ran from my side and police officers waited outside to ask more questions, my phone buzzed on the tray beside the bed. A wallet notification. The rest of the payment had been deposited. Below it was a message from the buyer. Excellent match. Contact us again if you're interested in doing further business. I should have thrown the phone across the room. Instead, I looked at Keisha sleeping in the bed beside mine, alive because of what I had sold. Then I opened a search page with my left hand. You can live with one kidney. You can live without part of a lung. You can live without an eye. Because once you learn your body can be turned into money, every piece of it starts looking like a paycheck. Next story. Baby teeth. $10,000 for pulling teeth. That was the job description. I don't think the words even registered before I clicked accept. I saw the pay and booked the gig as fast as my thumb could move. Within minutes, I was in my mom's pickup, heading out toward the address listed in the app. The infamous side gigs app. The latest craze in the gig economy we've come to know and love. The jobs aren't always as weird and cryptic as this one, but the tame ones don't pay as well either. When I first signed up, I started with conventional stuff: food delivery, taxi service, amateur landscaping. Not a lot of effort if you're willing to accept minimal pay. But if you really want to make a living, you gotta scroll all the way to the bottom. That's where the good stuff lives. The odd jobs. The jobs that pay well because nobody is willing to do them. Now, it's not what you think. The app does its best to filter out the sexual stuff. The jobs are just odd. The first one I took had a heading that read, "Big pile of rocks need moving." No other details. $500 offer. $500 to move rocks? I could hardly believe it. The address alone was enough to scare off a casual browser. I showed up to a dusty trailer park with a wheelbarrow and some gloves in the back of my car. I thought I'd be met with some pet project. A new driveway, perhaps? Nope. A fidgety man with 2 teeth greeted me in dusty blue overalls. He packed his lip and pointed to the pile of boulders in his front lawn. Said I just needed to move them to the back. When I asked where, he simply replied, "Wherever," before hobbling back inside. I didn't understand, but I obliged. The job took about an hour. I offered to do more, but the man refused. He tossed me a stack of bills and waved me off. I sat in the truck in silence. The money felt heavy in my hand as I tried to make sense of what I'd just done. Just when I thought it couldn't get any stranger, the man came back out of his house. He must have thought I already left. Probably best he didn't see me lingering. I pulled out slow as he walked in a hurry to the back of his trailer. He approached the new pile of rubble and began carrying one of the boulders back to the same spot I moved it from. I couldn't believe it. What was the point? Why pay so much to move the pile? Did he just like watching dudes carry rocks to his backyard? I spent the whole drive home turning it over in my head and came up with nothing. Some jobs don't make sense. I learned to live with that. I didn't fret over this interaction for long. I took another job shortly after that made me forget all about it. A woman paid me to come name her kittens. She claimed she made a deal with an entity a long time ago that would lay waste to all that she claimed in exchange for some heroin. Having someone else name her belongings was a way to circumvent that, or so she said. I sat on her shag carpet for an hour with a litter of 6 kittens, trying out names until she felt safe. I left with $600 and the smell of kitty litter on my clothes. That same day, I was picking up a bouquet of flowers for someone's mom. You really never know what you're going to get. Sure, the gigs can get a little creepy, but it honestly doesn't bother me. I'm making a good living and my days are interesting. That's good enough for me. Unfortunately, my family doesn't see it the same way. When they found out I flunked out of college and didn't have a real job, they had a lot to say about it. Shameless, disgraceful, My mom called me a loser during one of her wine-induced tirades. I'll admit, I'm not the son you brag about to your friends. I don't have a snazzy degree and trophy family like my siblings. But hey, I'm happy with who I am. That's more than most people can say. Sure, the work I do is strange, but it's not like I am doing anything dangerous. Or so I thought. I was scrolling side gigs on my couch when I came across the job. $10,000 to pull a tooth? I drove to the address as quick as I could. Didn't want to risk someone trying to double book the gig. The house was nestled out in the woods on the nice part of town. A wall of sycamores opened up to reveal a white two-story sitting atop a grassy hill. The house was fancy looking, but the vibes were off. No cars in the driveway, not a single light on outside. And yet, everything was clean and well kept. The yard, the exterior, the driveway. It just felt empty. I tried to knock 3 times, but the door cracked open on the second rap. "Are you here for the job?" The man was short, pasty, and wearing a robe. He had a small ring of hair around his head and the bushiest eyebrows I think I've ever seen. His eyes were almost as large as his smile. Yeah, that smile was wicked. Thick, brick-like teeth jutted in every direction. It was hard to look anywhere else. "Oh, yeah, I'm Dave." I reached out my hand to shake his. He ignored the gesture and pulled back the door to let me inside. I stepped into the dimly lit entrance. "So, the job said you needed a tooth pulled?" I asked anxiously. He started down the hall in front of me and waved me to follow. The entrance was bare like the outside. The walls were a cold gray. Light from silver fixtures illuminated dark tile beneath us. There were no pictures, decor, or furniture of any kind. The aesthetic was surgical, clean and cold. "Let's talk when we get to the room," he said very calmly. His voice was chirpy like a cricket. I was starting to feel the pressure now. Every step further down the creepy hallway was a step further from safety. Everything about this felt wrong. We continued for a few long minutes before turning the corner into a room. Plastic wrap crunched under my feet as I entered. It looked like a scene out of Dexter. The room was gray, like the rest of the house, bare except for an old chair sitting at the center and a cracked porcelain bathtub in the corner. Beside the chair sat a tall metal desk. An array of surgical tools glinted under the fluorescent lighting. "Oh shit." I started backing out before he interrupted me. I know, my apologies. This must appear sinister." He plopped himself in the chair and started adjusting against the seat back. "I'll cut to the chase. I need dental work." A chuckle escaped me. I'm no dentist, sir." He chuckled in response. "Yes, of course not. You see, I'm in a bit of a bind. I'm an immigrant. I came here a long, long time ago from a place I'm sure you've never heard of." His voice was chittery, like an insect. I couldn't pin down the accent. He pressed a small lever beneath the chair and leaned back. The fluorescent light dilated his pupils until his eyes were nearly completely black. "I've been tardy on my citizenship and have gotten myself on your government's radar. I prefer to save myself a doctor's visit if I can, at least until my citizenship issue is dealt with. No need to raise any more eyebrows." Nothing about his rationale made sense. Even if all of this were true, why would anyone pay a random guy to do dental work? "So you're willing to pay me $10,000 just to pull a tooth?" I tried to quietly step back, but the crunch of plastic wrap gave away my unease. He laughed this time, a long, hearty laugh. No, dear boy. I'm going to pay you $20,000 to pull my tooth." My heart nearly skipped a beat. $20,000? Don't need to tell me twice. I quickly walked up to the metal tray beside him and picked up a small pair of surgical pliers. "Which tooth?" He grinned. "Top left, all the way back. It's infected, and I'd prefer to just take out the whole thing. I have lots more, after all." He laughed again, then opened his mouth wide. It was unnatural, like a serpent welcoming its next meal. I didn't waste any time. Within seconds, I was clamping the pliers down on his large brick tooth. The tooth wasn't loose or discolored at all. It felt firm under the pliers. That's when I got a good look at the rest of his mouth. How many teeth does a normal adult have? 30-something? I counted 30 on the top alone. They were crowded. Some branched out of the gums like gnarled porcelain, while others simply budded between larger teeth. But they weren't dirty. They were clean, pearly white. I was stuck in a trance until I heard him say, "Go ahead." The words were muffled from my hand in his mouth, but he sounded sure of himself. I clamped down and pulled. Nothing. I thought I must have hurt him, but he simply offered a thumbs up and returned to staring at the ceiling with his mouth agape. I yanked again. No luck. Again. A little more give that time. One more. Plop. I almost fell backwards but caught my balance at the last moment. The large tooth was finally out. Bits of gum tissue and nerve endings hung loosely at the base. I dropped it on the metal table beside the chair and decided it was time to talk business. "So, about the money. 40,000, he muttered. His body remained fixed in the chair. His eyes were glazed and blood dribbled down his chin from my handiwork. 40,000? For one tooth? He chuckled, blood spraying across my shirt and catching me in the face. I started frantically wiping it off. No, 40,000 for you to keep going. I smeared what remained of the blood off my forehead and took another step back. How many teeth? He spat a clot of blood onto the plastic wrapping below and sunk back into the operating chair. Until I say stop. He shot me a bloody grin and opened his mouth once more. A rational man would have